Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning into the Financial Investor channel. My name is Brent, and today we're going to be doing our stock market weekly change for June 10th through the 14th, 2019. We just finished our third week of June, and we're going to be going over last week's changes, which are up currently on the screen here. We're going to be going through the four main indexes, the S&P, Dow Jones, NASDAQ, the Russell, taking a look at stock futures currently looking positive going into the following week. After sort of a sell-off here on Friday, we're going to take a look at the stocks here after hours that sold off, look at the entire S&P 500 movement for the week, what sectors were stronger or weaker than others, take a look at semiconductors, financials, energy sector. We had a couple incidents there this week. We'll take a look at oil, silver, gold, bonds, and mortgage rates. So this is just a very quick weekly recap. I like to do these every single week just to kind of keep in touch with what goes on each week, and also I like to do these for historical references. So if you are brand new to the channel, have not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. If you do enjoy this video, find it helpful, hit that thumbs up, and if you have any comments yourself, drop into the comment section below. I do appreciate all your thumbs up, your subscriptions, your comments, and everything. I highly appreciate it all. I really like all the feedback that I have been receiving here recently. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So this is posted over my Instagram. I shared it over to my Facebook. If you aren't following me on Instagram, definitely head over. Link down in the description below. Stock market investing last week, June 3rd through the 7th, we had the S&P 500 up 4.41%. Dow Jones up 4.71, the NASDAQ up 3.88, and my portfolio was up 4.86. So all the indexes, all the portfolios out there were pretty much positive. I had a couple comments out here where everyone across the board that I've spoke to was up very nice so long as they remain invested. In May, they just kept buying it. Last week alone, we recovered half or more of our losses for May 2019. Now, jumping and taking a look here at the change for this week, we can see here that we had a slight sell-off towards the end of the day on Friday, but overall ended pretty positive. We did have an incident on Thursday. We had an oil tanker, which we'll cover here in just in some of the news here in the future, but that seemed to have propped up the oil markets, and that really helped out the total markets there on Thursday at 0.41%. And then Friday we started higher, quickly sold off, made it back towards the end of the day, and then sold off to about 28.86 there on close. So up for the week 0.47, year to date up 15.16. Dow Jones basically the exact same thing here. 5-day change up 0.41%. Year to date, this one's still the laggard here of the four main indexes, and basically for the week here, slightly behind the S&P. Now the NASDAQ actually came out more positive than I thought it would be with the sell-off of Broadcom on Friday. NASDAQ here for the 5-day up 0.7%. Friday, you can see the huge drop there. I believe that was because of Broadcom, and a few other semiconductor companies were affected by that, which kind of dropped some of the NASDAQ's gains for the week. But overall, they ended up being one of the most positive one of the indexes, and year to date, they are up 17.5%. The Russell 2000 here, 5-day change up 0.54%. Up year to date 12.9%. I've seen a lot of investors talking about the volume out with these mid small cap stocks, looking at the Russell 2000, having a lot of interest. So as we were saying earlier, stock futures currently positive. We can see the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow Jones all sitting slightly in the positive there. That will change as the weekend kind of progresses. You can see that we had a pretty hard sell-off on the last few hours, or last few 30 minutes or so of the S&P 500 on close. You can see the volume pretty slow through the midday, and then a pretty hard sell-off here. You can see the volume uptick towards the end of the day, and we fell from, I'm not sure where we were at, maybe 29 today. So today a little bit below 2,900, and then kind of sold off down lower. Now stock after hours, what stocks went positive, what stocks went negative? As far as known stocks that I'm familiar with, I see Love out there, Southwest Airlines up 1.18. I see Dish Network up 1.23. So a few airlines out there. So some of the stocks here down in the after hours. General Mills down 1.67. And not too much else. Skechers did not know I've never looked into them. It's kind of interesting to see sketches out there. Some of those active stocks in the after hours, we have General Electric up 0.1, Comcast coming back 0.07, Qualcomm. So Qualcomm, actually they weren't the one. It was Broadcom. I can't. I got my words a little bit there, but Qualcomm down 0.31. Some financials basically flat. Wells Fargo positive 0.13. Apple continuing to move higher. Friday, I think Friday it was negative. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. Intel, AMD kind of selling off their after hours down 0.59. A couple familiar companies out there in the after hours kind of doing some movement. So here's our one-day performance. We can see Apple has had a nice run up in the last few weeks, and I'm actually really surprised. Just about 2 weeks ago, Apple was down. Let's go ahead if I can pull this up. We'll take a look at AAPL. Apple just a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks or so, Apple was trading at $171. That was the low just a few weeks ago. $171 is what I believe it hit, and then it just immediately bounced higher. This is after the Fed came out saying, hey, we're not going to not raise rates. We're not going to not cut rates. We're just going to not, they were very vague with their words, but a lot of investors, there's some 98% chance that we're going to be cutting rates prior to August. So at the very end of July, Fed's going to come out saying, hey, we're going to be cutting rates. We may see a 0.5%, 0.25%, 0.5%. We're not sure, but a lot of investors, the polls out there, the percentage of so is up to that 98. And I've seen a lot of investors over on Instagram doing some polls with their followers, and they're showing about 54% are wanting a rate cut and 44% are not wanting a rate cut. I myself, I prefer not to have a rate cut, but we shall see how that all plays out. Some of the companies that were on the news this week, we had, what was it? Raytheon and UTX. I knew they were over there. We'll take a look at the 1 week performance. That'll show them up here. Because for the week, UTX, United Technologies, and Raytheon Company, they are down pretty hard. They're doing some sort of a, I believe I had posted it, maybe I didn't post it over on Facebook, that I know a lot of commotion out there where UTX is going to be splitting off into 3 companies. Raytheon is going to be buying a portion of their aerospace portion and then giving out X amount of shares for this specific company. So I thought it was very interesting. I'm not involved in any of those companies. I didn't really research it too much. I did watch a video over on PPC Ian's channel covering these 2 specific companies. Boeing there. Basically the whole sector sort of sold off on that news. We can see Eli Lilly down 5.58%. Kind of interesting to see all the healthcare out there positive, and then Eli Lilly down 5.58. This would be kind of interesting. Why did they go down this week? Is that a sort of interesting? Did they release earnings? I have to check on that. It's gonna be kind of interesting. I'm always looking at other financials to add into the portfolio. We have Elargon PLC. Few financials, basically kind of negative there, Visa and MasterCard. Netflix. Netflix has been getting slammed here recently. I'm not sure how much more growth we're going to see out of Netflix into the future. Disney is really coming out there, and with their streaming service, Apple streaming services, I think Disney is more of a competitor to Netflix as they're going to begin to pull some of their media from Netflix over to their own streaming service. And that's going to affect them pretty hard. So it's going to make Netflix want to go out there, produce more original content, but it's also going to come with a cost. So we shall see how that all plays out. I know a lot of investors out there in my Facebook groups are invested in CRM. They were posting about this. So down for the week near 7%. Twitter also down for the week around almost 5% there. So across the board, a lot of sectors were pretty positive. Only a few companies within those sectors were really affected. And of course, over in the semiconductor there, MU down about 4% for the week. So without that, let's continue on. Financials up slightly, up 0.44%. We can see here financials overall pretty healthy. JP Morgan, I believe a couple investors are looking for JP Morgan to be hitting some all-time highs. Bank of America, maybe some 52-week highs. I'm not sure about all-time highs, but we shall see. Semiconductors were slammed here on Friday again. It was Broadcom. Can't think of their ticker symbol. I believe it's something with an AGRO maybe. Nope, that's not it. Not familiar with the ticker symbol there. So we'll kind of continue. And home builders up 1.94. I believe as the possibility that rates may get cut in the future. That'll really benefit real estate investment trusts, maybe a couple home builder, the home builder ETF. But this, I know last week or maybe a few weeks ago, Lowe's and Home Depot were hit pretty hard within here. And as I check the top 10 holdings, I see Home Depot in here at 4.78. I believe Lowe's is in there here as well, but maybe not so much. We can see Lennar Corp and a few others in there. So kind of interesting one there for the home builders. So here's the news on the oil. So the main thing that happened here on the oil, you can see oil basically kind of just dragging through the dirt here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then what took place on Thursday was all over YouTube, all over the financial industry, media, how two oil tankers were hit in a suspected attack in the Gulf of Oman, and the crews have been evacuated. So you can go ahead and pause the video, read through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's news, but overall, Thursday, that caused oil to spike. So we saw an increase here on Thursday of up 2.26%, and this really affected the other markets as well. We can see that the S&P 500 was affected by this news. When oil pumps higher, that basically brings the whole market with it as well. So that is positive for the week. Dollar this week seems to be getting a lot stronger here. Take a look at the change just alone here on Wednesday, transitioning into Thursday, into Friday. The dollar started this week down at 96.69. Last week, prior to this, it actually trended from 97.60, I believe, down into that 96.69, nearly a dollar loss. Now we're turning back up, nearly a dollar gain. Silver and gold this week, both negative, with silver basically losing all of last week's gains. I know silver was up pretty high last week. This way, 5-day change back down 1.07, putting it back into that below $14 range. If this silver goes down into that $13.50 range, I've seen a lot of investors kind of jump into materials. Materials is really not my area of investments. Gold down slightly for the week here. We can see here it gapped down, I believe, last Friday. It gapped and then opened lower. That is why this is actually showing a negative. But here you can see that this at 125.50, it's much lower than 126.50. Basically a dollar higher, but this is because on Monday it actually gapped lower, and I'm not actually sure why this is displaying this way. This is just overall down for the week 0.02%. If you know why this chart is pointing in a positive direction, but this is actually down 0.02, let me know in the comment section below. Bonds this week staying pretty positive, 0.07. Normally when you see the markets go higher, generally bonds tend to go lower, their yields tend to go higher. But in this case, bonds and the stock market really have been interacting in the same way. So if market's going higher, bonds are generally going higher. If the stock market gets hit, bonds continue to move higher. So it's been kind of interesting. I've seen a lot of investors kind of moving towards the bond market as sort of a safety net. So here we can see just over the last 3 months here, the bond ticker symbol BND, the ETF here that tracks the total market of the bonds, Vanguard Fund, is up 2.73%. But if you had been invested for the past 3 months in the S&P 500, your return would be right about that same point, so 2.29. So that is why a lot of investors have been moving towards these bonds. The S&P 500 really hasn't put on any sort of gains for the past year. We started 1 year ago below currently where we're at, and we're basically kind of exactly where we're at, maybe 100 points higher. If we look at our 3-year, we'll see here, but as of January 20 something in 2018, we have really gone nowhere. If you had been invested in a bunch of growth stocks, if you just kind of bought it, didn't buy anything into it, you'd probably be back at where you were now, kind of breaking even. But if you took advantage of these dips, you'd probably be up positive. I know I'm positive in a lot of my positions because I just constantly average into the market, dollar cost average. And mortgage rates are down this week, down 2 basis points here. We were at 4.06 last week. We're now down at 4.04. Now, with all that news out of the way, I'm going to quickly go over what was posted over on Facebook this week. I know we did our Monday buys video. If you have not checked out my Monday buys video, definitely go check it out if you're interested in kind of following the performance of the portfolio. I had over $11.43 paid out in dividends last week. That was all reinvested. I had over $11 of dividends get paid out this week here for me too. So I'm going to be covering my video again on Monday. Last week I made 5 buys: AbbVie, Cardinal Health, Caterpillar, 3M, and Altria. Kind of continuing on there. I thought this was an interesting. I'm checking out the MLS over here in Oregon, where I'm at, and this is a listing on the MLS. So we got some plants there, and kind of interesting, but completely legal here in Oregon. We had stock futures on Tuesday looking pretty nice. Now, futures were looking nice on Tuesday, but actually what happened over the 5-day here, we can see, yeah, stock futures, we opened high on Tuesday. And I believe I made a video covering why Mondays is one of the best times to be buying, because generally Monday is one of those negative days in the morning, and then as the morning kind of picks up, you'll see the remainder, afternoon is when it starts to kind of sell off. Everybody takes a break, goes to lunch, and the market kind of sells off. Here, morning time, everybody buys, and it just kind of sells off. And it just kind of kept doing that basically throughout the week. You can see that the market generally started higher, and then trended lower, started higher, trended lower, started higher in the morning, trended lower, started higher, basically trended and basically almost flat for the day. And here, again, we've just been having a lot of these days where the morning is where you're getting all that activity. If you're invested the day prior, set up some limit sells if that's what you're going to be doing, but very risky there. I would think that next week we're going to be closing fairly close to where we closed on. I can't see it now, but let's see if I posted it here. So we gapped up on last Friday. So looking at here, this is Friday going into, this is Friday's starting period. We started Friday, and on Monday, we gapped up. We had a gap up there of nearly, maybe, I'm not sure how much the percentage is there, maybe just a few percent points there. And then we closed on Monday, we go all the way. Tuesday, we gapped up. So Tuesday, we started this kind of sell-off, and we closed our gap here for where we had gapped up. And I still believe that we're going to be falling back down to this point here of, let's see if I show it here, of somewhere, what was this, 265, 61. This is just the VU. So I still believe that we're going to be trending down just slower into the following week to kind of refill our gap up. And then we'll kind of decide whether we're going to move positive or negative. So I thought this was kind of an interesting one to kind of watch. Beyond Meats, I'm not sure where they're at currently. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. BYND. So BYND. And where are they for the week? 5-day change, up 9.25%. They had a huge sell-off there on Tuesday, but that was because they were up so high on Monday. Monday up 21.24. Tuesday down 25.02. Wednesday up 12.64. Thursday basically flat on the day, down 0.41. Friday up 6.82%. I've seen investors go back and forth on this one, whether they want to short it or not, but I believe it is so volatile, so risky, has so much hype behind it in the media, and just people's mind, how they're believing that they're going towards a cause, and whether the fundamentals there for the company, non-profitable company, meet their fundamentals at all, they just kind of wave it out the window and just kind of put their money into it. So very interesting here that they recovered here towards the end of the week. So what was this? Oh, I was debating if I was going to be changing my URL for my website, thefinancial-investor.com. If you haven't checked out my website, I would highly appreciate you going over to my website, checking it out. Let me know if you like the current information that's over there. I am working currently on updating some of the information. I'm going to be putting out information of invested in the stock market, invested in real estate, how to get started invested in the stock market, in real estate, how to get a business going, how to go about building your own LLC, and kind of going that route, providing more information out there, and then I'll be bringing it over onto YouTube, because I believe kind of doing a brain dump on paper is much easier than kind of bringing it and making a video about it. So I will be keeping my URL there. I actually decided to do that. I do hold a few positions over on Robinhood. Primarily, I believe it's CenturyLink and Zynga and a few others. So I posted that they're going to be going ex-dividend on Friday. CenturyLink's actually pretty positive for the week. If we take a quick look at them, they're just a spec company here. I have them in M1 Finance. I have them over on Robinhood. 5-day change up 5.31%. They broke out of that $10 range. They were trading at a point down in $9 and some change. They had a lot of insider buying. If you take a look at their company over on Yahoo Finance, take a look at their insights, and you look at their insider buying, their CEO, their financial guys, they were buying up millions of shares of this at $10. They were just putting a whole bunch of capital into this, and it's just kind of interesting to see it beginning to rebound. They have nowhere else to go but up at this point currently. Plus, they cut their dividend, which is better for the financials. They're keeping more of their free cash flow. They're taking in more of their earnings, and I believe that'll do better. Airbnb, thought this was kind of an interesting read. Denver couple accused of illegally running a short-term rental business through Airbnb. It's illegal in some areas of the country, so definitely watch out for that. Here, Beyond Meat tanks after Tyson launches its own line of product-based alternatives. So, kind of interesting article there. I've seen a lot of engagements, which is nice. A lot of investors out there taking an interest. I made a video on I follow-up video on my April video. So in April, I made a video covering how I reinvested dividends on M1 Finance without having $10. As you know, I hold VU. I get a very small dividend when I do get paid out by VU. I went over in the video how I reinvest those dividends. Plus, I went over in this video specifically how I actually didn't need to sell. It didn't actually count it as a sell. I didn't have a taxable event. I didn't have any wash sale. I don't have to pay any taxes because there was no taxable event. I just simply reinvested those dividends. And this week's performance, we already basically covered it here, but the stock market for 10 June into the 14th of June, S&P 500 up 0.47, Dow Jones up 0.41, the NASDAQ up 0.7, and my portfolio for the week is up 0.9%. So that is basically it there for the video. Pretty good week overall. A lot of companies out there are doing really well, and yeah, it's working pretty good. I did buy a growth company. I don't know if I'll cover that here in an upcoming video, but I do hold one growth company over on my Merrill Edge account. So that is it for today's video. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. It does look like it's 22 minutes, so I'm very sorry for that. If you guys did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up button below. If you have not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe. If you have any comments, want to let me know what you're buying this week, what your stock portfolio performance was for the week, drop it into the comment section of this video or head over to my Facebook page and let me know in this comment section of the Facebook post. I know a lot of investors out there like to post their returns. That way we can kind of keep up to date and kind of make it fun. So that is it. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.